Hello, 8th grade again. Today we're going to be working on 7.7, which is transformations. The Green Bay Packers just lost against the New York Giants in the playoffs, so I had the Packers picked even as a Vikings fan, so even I'm kind of surprised right now. But I'll be doing some math for you. Alrighty, so 7.7 has 5 different vocab terms, so let's get those done right away. A transformation is a change in a figure's position or its size. Figure's position or size. Okay, so the position means where it is on a coordinate plane, and the size obviously is how big it is. Okay, and the image is what we call the resulting figure of a translation, rotation, or reflection. And we'll go through what each of those mean in a bit. But it means that I'm going to do a transformation to a figure, and we call that resulting figure the image. So if I transform a square to a smaller square, the smaller square would be the image. Okay? A translation is sliding a figure along a line without turning it. Okay? Without turning it. So it'll be in the same orientation as before, but it'll just be moved farther. So translation will be the easiest. Reflection is flipping it across a line, and that will be like a mirror reflection. So if you see yourself in the mirror, you know how you'll feel like your hands will be backwards and stuff like that. That's a reflection. And the rotation is going to be a turning a figure around a point. And now, let me see if I can find the term. There's a couple different things we could call this, but we'll call it around the origin. Okay, we're gonna do rotations only around the origin, just to make our lives easier. Okay, it also could be called the center. If you decide to rotate around a different point, you can call it the center. Okay, so these can be a little tricky, but once you get the hang of them, they're not too bad at all. So what we're going to do is we are going to do what we call a translation. Okay, so we're going to move it, but we are not going to do any type of flipping. Okay, so we're going to move it 3 left and 4 up. So we look at each individual point on a figure and we do the translation individually. So I'm going to go A. I'm going to go 3 left, 1, 2, 3, and 4 up for A. So right there. And I'm going to call that A prime. That little symbol there is what we call prime. It means it's the image. Okay, B, I go 3 left and 4 up. And I end up there. And we'll call that B prime. And finally C, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is C prime. And then we connect the points. And you notice the figures look the same. They have the same size, but they're just moved on a graph. Okay, so that's what we call a translation. Translation. Alrighty, so if we move on, we're going to flip this. Oh, we're not going to flip this across the x-axis. We're going to flip this across the y-axis, sorry. So we look at this individual point and we're going to flip it across the y-axis. The y-axis obviously is this point right here. And so we're going to take this and we are going to like pick it up and rotate it over the top. It's hard to describe what we're doing, on a computer screen, but you're like flipping it over. Like if you had a piece of paper and you moved it, it would be the bottom would now be on top. Okay, so I think the best thing to do is just work our way through this and kind of explain as we go. So if I take the point M and I'm going to look at it here and I'm going to flip it over the y-axis, it's like it's jumping over it. It was 1 to the right before, now it's going to be 1 to the left. Okay, and we'll call this M prime. Okay, so it like jumped over. Where the point P was 2 to the right before, now it's going to jump over and it's going to end up here at P prime. N was 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So now it has to be 4 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll call this N prime. And finally, O was 5 to the right, so it has to be 5 to the left, and it'll be right here. Now when we're done, we draw the picture in, and it should look the same, except just backwards. So let's see if we did it right. And there it is. You can see the flip across the axis, and it's backwards, but it's the same size, same orientation, stuff like that. Okay? So now let's try it, and I did this backwards as well. This should be across the x-axis. So once again, same thing. Here's the x-axis, and we have to flip it across. So let's look at A first. Now, A is a tricky point. Okay? This is halfway in between these 2 points, but it doesn't matter because we're just flipping it over the x-axis. Okay, so this was 2 down from there, so now it has to be 2 up halfway in the middle. So that's A prime. E was 1, 2, 3, 4 down, so now it has to be 1, 2, 3, 4 up. And we'll call this E prime. B was 4 down, so now it has to be 4 up from the same place. C was quite a ways down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now it has to be 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll call this C prime. And D was 7 down as well, so that'll be right there. D prime. So now we just have to connect all the points. Here, here, here. And once again, it looks like a mirror image just jumped over this x-axis. Alrighty? And an important thing to note about transformations, these are all going to be congruent to their original figures. They'll all be congruent to their original figures. Now, we're going to work on rotation. We're going to rotate around the origin. So that means that we're going to take this point, and it's like we're going to move it and yank it around a string. Okay, so if I had the string that was connected from the origin to this point X, we're going to rotate it first 90 degrees left. So 90 degrees is going to be over here. So I take this string and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees that way. So this whole shape is going to rotate around like that. Okay, so that means the point X was 1 up here. So now it's going to be here. And we'll call this X prime. Now, if this side here, this XY, was flat up the top, it gets rotated and pulled down like that. Okay? Meaning the point Y was 1, 2, 3, 4 up. Now it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 left. And we'll call it Y prime. And Z is connected to X, and it got pulled up around to here. Okay, that means that it was 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. It's now going to be 4 up. And Z prime will be right there. So now if we connect it, we should hopefully see the picture that we want. And look at that. We took this X and we rotated it around on that string, and it ended up looking kind of like a mirror image, but yet it was on rotation. So now let's go 90 degrees to the right. Okay, that means we're on a string here. We have to rotate it down to the bottom like this. So that means it's going to go here. This is what we'll call X double prime. Okay, now the Z point was here, and it gets pulled all the way down to here. It was 4 to the right, so it now has to be 4 down. We'll call this Z double prime. And Y is connected to X. It was 4 up. It now has to be 4 to the right. We'll call this Y double prime. And we connect, hoping to see the picture that we just had before. And once again, it looks the same, except now it looks like it's flipped over the y-axis. And the last one is 180 degrees. Now, it doesn't matter if you go left or right, because 180 degrees is halfway around in a circle. But I'll go to the right, and so that means it has to be pulled down to here. So this will be X triple prime. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. So halfway around would be z here, but z is going to get rotated again, and it's going to have to end up this way on the top. Okay, so it has to be 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, because z triple prime. Y is connected to the x. If it was here, it's going to wind up on the bottom down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, y triple prime. And we try to connect them again. Now, I'll be honest, even as we work through these, rotations are by far the hardest. By far the hardest. But you just got to do your best to get used to them. And then, you know, just do them enough. Okay, just practice, practice, practice. So, here's a problem I want you to pause. I'm giving you 5 things to do on one problem. Okay, it seems like a lot. But I want you to rotate 90 degrees right, 90 degrees left, and 180. Then flip it over the x and the y axis and see what you get. Alrighty? So we're back. Let's see how that went. 90 degrees right, if we started here, means that the A would now be here. We'll call this A prime. B would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this would be B prime. And C would be connected to that. So it'd be 4 over right there. I have to label C still. C prime. Alrighty, so if we're going to the left, A double prime would be here. B would be 7 down. 1, 2. I think I didn't go 1 enough. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, I missed by 1. Alrighty. Here it is. And C would be 4 over from there. Now this one does not give us the same flipped picture that we had before. Okay? And that's because of the orientation of the triangle. And 180 degrees would be A would be here. Then B would be 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 out here. And C would be here. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to erase back to the original so we can do the x-axis and y-axis. Okay. X-axis, we'll take A and we're going to flip it over. A prime. B will go 1 over. B prime. And C will have to go 5 over. So this is our flip across the x-axis. And our y-axis will be this way. A will go here. We'll call it double prime. B has to be 7 to the right of that. And C will be 4 up. Alrighty, there we go. Here are our problems. We have not a ton on each of these, but this is 9, so you have to get 7 right. This here is also 9. You would have to get 7 right there as well. Alrighty, thank you.